All right, going to make a series of videos covering the Michigan Boilers Installers License. Just took the test yesterday. Unfortunately, didn't pass it my first time, but I've got a pretty good grasp now on what questions are asked and basically what to study. Uh, so let's go over what the requirements are. So this was sent to me when I was accepted to take the test, and I took the 1B installer test. Now, a couple things I want to highlight. For one, the examination, reference material and outline, we'll get into that, but the examination for the 1B was supposed to be 56 questions. It was 50 questions. Got to have 75% passing score. Get 195 minutes to take the test. All right, so here's the reference material, the weight of it. So ASME Section 4, which is this book, and this was quite expensive. I want to say this was like $700 for this book. So they got kind of a racket going on with ASME. Didn't even get the binder. Basically, this was just sent to me. So one of the tips I would give you is, condense this down. Like, there's a lot of information in here about people's names, because which group they're in. I would pull that out of there. I would take it out of them, because the problem with this test is there's so much information. It's like looking through the phone book for somebody's name when it's not even in alphabetical order. So that they say that's supposed to be 30% of the test there. I didn't find a whole lot of answers in that. Next one would be CSD1, that book. Quite a few questions in here. You can highlight. You can highlight in the book. You can also tab it. What I basically did is dog-eared the important for quick reference to go through it. So that one, the Skilled Trades Act, specifically a couple of things: Skilled Trades Regulation Act and Part 9. Now, Skilled Trades Regulation Act, that's going to be 20%. 30% is going to be in the Part 9. And I don't know what I did with my Part 9 for the boiler section. Next one would be 5% comes out of this book. I found actually quite a few questions in this book. So that's the materials they're recommending to bring in. I also brought in my 2021 Michigan Mechanical Code, because it does have a boiler section in there. To be honest with you, wasn't worth my time bringing it in, because there just wasn't answers to the questions in there. So it's open book test. And so basically my plan when I went in was to quick look through all the questions. So I looked through all the 50 questions, read through them, didn't answer anything right off the bat. Just went through them, read to get accustomed to what the questions were. That way, when I dove into each book, I knew what questions were going to be asked. That way, if I came across one of them, all I had to do was just advance to that question and then answer it. And so that I felt like was going to be a pretty good plan. That way I was left with, after I got down to, hey, I've gone through all the questions, I've looked for the ones that I know, how many questions are left. I was pretty confident I was going to pass it. Unfortunately, that didn't work out in my favor. Looking back, I think I probably missed a few of them, just the way that they were worded, the way that I thought I read them, and what they probably read as. I think that's where I may have gotten confused and answered them, those trick questions, basically. Just go by wording. So what we're going to do is, after I took the test, basically in that amount of time, I got down to the last 8-10 minutes, was going back through them. In my mind, there was a few of them that I wanted to change my answers on, but just in past experience, I feel like, your first answer is probably the correct answer. So hindsight, probably should have changed some of them that I had guessed on. But then again, I missed it by two. I may have missed it by four. So hindsight in that. Now this time, I'm going to be more prepared going in. I know they say you're not going to get the same questions, but at least now I know what questions, because what I had planned on was not the questions that they had on there. I figured a lot of it would related to temperatures, pressures, certain things on there. Some of it was, but a lot of it in my mind was like, no. A couple things I would tell you that would help. If you go to the Michigan website, they have some frequently asked questions on there. This one is boiler permit frequently asked questions. If you're like me, you've installed boilers, you never had to pull a permit, so you don't know those steps. And we'll get into some of those questions that were asked. But I didn't think about that. So what I would suggest is maybe looking at these questions, maybe even download a permit application and look at it. Look, what's involved in it, because that's going to help you. Because like I said, me personally, I worked for a company. They pulled the permit, so I never really had to look at one. And you get the idea between the Skilled Trades Act, what it involves, but realistically doesn't really. Some of the questions are not really covered in there. So that one was a good one. The other thing too is, obviously you can't bring these in here, but that would at least help you. The other thing would be the boiler license frequently asked questions. That's another good one that kind of covers that. One of the other ones is CSD1 rules and frequently asked questions. And actually, I printed off two of those because I couldn't find my original one. But that's a good source too. The other thing too would be just a refresher on the application for the repairs installers examination. But yeah, my idea behind this, because I looked online, I would have been really interested in taking a class if one was offered. Now, locally to me, there was one back, I think, in 2018 for that was supposed to help you at one of the supply houses. They no longer do it. I think the guy that's doing it has retired. I look at it, I would rather have spent the money on that to prepare myself, get the correct information, than going and taking a test, being stressed out, and then end up failing it. So my idea behind this would be for guys that are studying it. Maybe you didn't pass it as well. Maybe put in the comments some of the questions you encountered that you're unsure of. Because my biggest issue now is, out of those 50 questions, which ones did I get wrong? Which ones did I get right? I could go take that test again today, and change some of my answers. Am I going to pass? Am I not going to pass? Maybe I'll do better. Maybe I'll do worse. You never know. So I think the idea behind it is to be prepared for it. And that's where, covering some of the questions. Because I had actually AI and create a test. And I actually had done pretty well on it. Felt really confident going into this test that, that I was going to do well. It turns out I did. And that. So that's where I would say, real life, take the test. And I'm not looking to give anybody answers to the test or help you just study the answers and pass it. Obviously, we want to look at these books, know them. So realistically, when we go out to install boilers, we're doing them properly to meet code, so you know your stuff. I'm not going to get into the politics of it. Do I agree really with the test and the way it works? No, but I'm not going to get into it because that's just the way it is. I can't change that. So the only thing we could do is take it again and pass it. And if I don't pass it, take it again. And that, it's just money that I'm giving the testing center to pass this. But also, I'm looking at it to help pay it forward to everybody else, because maybe you're like me. I don't take tests very well. I don't retain the information. I spent a lot of times going through these books to know them inside and out. That was my plan, because I'm figuring it's an open book. Answers in the book. All I got to do is know where the answer's at. To be honest with you, like I said, it's like looking for a name in a phone book that's not alphabetized. You could study all those pages and you're not going to be able to pull it to that same. It's chance or it's luck, going through it. But like I said, we'll work together. It's going to be a multi-part series. But try to keep it on the short end, because me, as far as learning, I don't like watching a video that's an hour long. What I think we'll do is we'll break it down into each book, and maybe I'll highlight those questions that I saw on the test or how they were phrased, because that's the other thing too. I don't remember how they were phrased. I just in my head, I'm like, well, this was kind of what was in there. And looking back on it, and maybe that's where everybody else could say, oh no, this is the way the question was, or this is how I remember it. We can put our heads together to formulate, how we figure that answer correct or where to look for it. But yeah, so join me for this journey. It's going to be a fun one. I just took the test yesterday. I don't know when I'm going to go back down. Just in past experience, I think sometimes it's better off to go as soon as possible, just because all that's fresh in your head. I've already looked through the materials again, but we're getting close to Christmas here, so holidays and all that. Obviously, it's not going to happen here, this week. Don't think it's going to happen next week either. But yeah, join me along for the journey. If you've got any tips, feel free to leave them in the comment section.